So we're building our top-down adventure game, and we've got a inventory system now. So we can equip certain things, and it kind of swaps them out. Now, we can also swap what inventory we're looking at. So this is our key item inventory, and this is our item inventory. So items can go in slot B, whereas key items, any of these spells can be equipped into slot A, and then any of these tunics can be applied for some like passive buffs stuff. And then these are like the sheet music as you unlock the music. So it's like choose which active sheet music for your music playing. So I think today we're going to be trying to figure out if we were to equip a loot. So like if we were to make a loot in our inventory here and then go ahead and equip it, then I just escaped out of it. If we equip the loot and then come out of it, we're carrying our berry through into the play state, but if it's a loot or something, and even if it's a berry, I don't know yet, we want to render an item kind of like in his hand, in Tashio's hand here. I don't know how big it should be. I'm thinking maybe just like it should be pretty small. And then maybe we make like a specific frame for him like playing it, because right now we have it where the loot just comes on here, but we need to make it so that your loot needs to be equipped, and then when you hit the button for B, it'll toggle the loot instead of the A or the L button currently triggers it. So we need to make it triggerable for our mobile deployment, which and whatnot. I don't know if you've seen this, but if you want to play the game now, you can go to tashio.dev and you can play with the WASD spacebar for spells, and you can play it on the web here. It's hosted on the website, so that's one cool thing we've done. And then it works on mobile too, so this is touch responsive, so that you can walk around with your thumb on a D-pad like a Game Boy. And then we're in the middle of trying to get stuff like the loot system to be working on the touch deployment here. So hopefully we get the touch working for the loot. This is part, I think step one is like we need to make sure the loot is equipable, and then when B is hit, when the loot is equipped, that will toggle the loot state instead of an L press, because the touch detection can't listen for an L press on the keyboard. So we're going to be trying to do that. I think today we're going to try to see if we can, I called it like a sprite overlay. Like we want to render our player as is basically, but basically add to his hand the item that he's holding. So like we have other tunics we can apply. So it's like instead of making a whole new atlas with him wearing the certain sprite, and instead of making a whole new atlas of every color sprite holding every single item, I think we're just gonna kind of do like a layered approach where this is his base sprite, and then we render a layer over it. Be like, oh, if he's holding a spell cast, let's render the spell right above his hand or whatever, so it looks like he's holding it, a lot like the mage over here. And then as well as the key item as well as the normal item. So like, see, the mage here is holding a little orb in his hand. So we'll kind of do like, render the player, then render the clothes color, then render the key item and the spell item kind of stacked. So that way we still have only one atlas for the player, but we kind of just like, you know, it's like, yeah, just like layers of things he can equip and take off. And we'll just make sure we line them up in the same sort of way. It is tough because the animation is tricky, because the animation is made up of different quads and different switching. So it's almost like we just have to mimic, you know, we have to make sure we kind of export all the frames needed, and then sort them just like our player. So like our player walking down has 2 frames, and left and right have 2 frames. We just have to name them the same so that we can say if the player is facing right and is on frame 2, then we're also on the fire element facing right, frame 2, so that we can know that we can match them up. So that is going to be a little tricky, but should be interesting. And then it's a kind of, yeah, I don't think it'll be that hard. So let's go ahead and let's open up our player atlas here, and we're going to try to, this will be our template. So we'll make a new layer on top, and maybe we can just try it with the fire element first. So I guess I'm a little torn because I'm not sure at this point if the fire spell is the main. I was thinking that the fire spell is the main line of defense you always have. So like at the beginning of the game, you'll first get the fire, and it's like, my idea was that it's somewhat effective against all enemies, but it's not particularly effective against maybe any enemies. So it's just like a weak but always there for you thing, kind of like the sword is for Link's Awakening, even though actually that sword is pretty good. But I'm kind of torn because if you always have the fire spell, then there's not necessarily a big reason to use the items, and we can have items that are particularly effective against certain enemies. So I don't know if we still want to go that route of, like, maybe the items we have are more tailored towards what? I don't know. I was thinking berries, like you can feed the geckos berries and that will distract them, and then you can not have to sit there and spellcast on them. Or seeds for the bird enemies, so you could feed the birds seed and that'll distract them. Or maybe, okay, here's an idea. Maybe once they're corrupted, you have to cleanse them, and then once they're cleansed and they walk off screen or whatever, once you cleanse that biome, then those enemies become friendlies in the overworld, and then at that point you can use the items on them, and I want to incorporate like little puzzles with them. So maybe the spell casting is for the corrupted enemies and the items are for the healed enemies. That's something I could think about. Hey, what's up, K-Tronics? How's it going, dude? So for right now, we'll do even though it's fire, we're gonna do this kind of purple blue color for the element of fire. So we're on our new layer here, and we're trying to just do a very simple, like, he's gonna be holding the orb like that. And then we just have to do the orb for every direction he's facing, which is only if it's in his left hand like that, then this one, I don't know, maybe It looks weird on the profile of him holding it like this. I think that's okay though. So if we look at the that's literally the sprite atlas for the orbs. But we have to make sure that they stay the same. Like we have to split them up in the same quads so that we know that this is walk frame 1, this is walk frame 2, this is walk left, whatever frame. So let's see if we can get it working with the orb. I'm not sure I like the orb on the profile, but it's also hard to see without him walking if I really like it or not. So I'm gonna save as a PNG, and this will be our first layer test for we'll call it fire spell overlay. Just fire overlay atlas. Okay, so we've got the PNG exported. So let's come into we've got to import it, which I think I pull them into, if it's not dependencies, it's in the entity. Oh, here it is. Yeah, we need to give ourselves a texture and a quad, and it's gonna mimic. We'll call it character fire spell or fire element. I want to call it elements. So fire element gets. Let's rename the file we just made and call it element. fireElement atlas. That's what we'll call it. Okay, fireElement atlas.png. Okay, so we have a global texture called character fire element. Then we're going to give a corresponding quad for it, which is going to mimic the character walk quad. So we know it is generate quads, and we're giving it we've got to give it 3 parameters. First one is the global texture, which is the key of character fire element, and then also a quad size of tile size. So this will split it up into every frame. So okay. So we've got our quads made. Now we'll need to go, I think, into our entity defs here, and we'll need to add an animation. Oh, see, and then this is weird. I don't know if we need to add a separate... How would we do this? Because we want to kind of stack these animations, right? Like our player's going to have an animation, but if we add a fire element animation, it'll replace the whole character with just the fire element, and we want to kind of stack these. So we want to mimic these animations, but I think we might need them in our own entity definition for a fire element. So it's like we would have to... Element might be the wrong... Or see, like, it is an entity, but it's not going to be an entity in the sense that it's inheriting from the entity class, or will it? Because all we basically need is to make sure that we can change the current animation. So our animation, you know, we need an animation table to be passed in so that we can generate an animation class from this table, and then we need to be able to match whatever current frame and interval from our character animation with our fire element. This is going to be interesting. Like, I think you know, we do need to put, instead of character walk as the texture, it's going to be character walk, character fall. Let me see here. See how character walk is the name of both the texture and the quad. So I think we can go with character fire element. So let's replace all this stuff. Okay. So for right now, we have which frame is which key, and which key of our item also knows what interval it's at and what texture to pull from. So we need to close our animation table. Okay. We do need a comma here. Okay. We forgot a comma somewhere up here. For our fire element, we need a comma here. Same with this. Okay, so we don't crash. So that's good. We're just not doing anything with our fire element entity. So we can walk through how we're pulling the animations for our character, and we can kind of theorize how we're going to be pulling the element frames as well. So let's come in here and we're going to see, I guess we would start with our player instantiation, maybe. You know, we're pulling from the entity class. I don't know if we need to do that. Let's take a look at our entity class and see if we need anything from it. Yeah. So our entity class is what essentially creates the animations, right? Based on the animations we pass it. It's just that our entity... See, it's weird because we don't need almost any of this junk. We should only need to create the animations based on the table. This is tricky because what do we do for, we potentially need 4 different equipable spells, and we would need 4 different equipable tunics. So if we make a class for each one of those, that would be 8 classes for the type of different image we want to overlay. But then when you think about all the different items we might have, we have at least 4 instruments. We have at least 4 food items for the wildlife. And then we would have, I would think, up to 4 more other things like consumables or collectibles or something. Well, yeah, I don't know. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to have to make our own class for every one of them. So maybe we can just try to... It's like we would need, if we had a table that holds all the current equipped overlays, and the equipped overlay might be a tunic, it might be a loot on top of a tunic, it might be a fire spell and a loot and a tunic all at once, right? So this table can maybe hold, up to 3 different animation objects. And then it kind of lives with the player. And whenever we... See, this is tough. Because we would have to go, whenever we change the player's animation, we would have to say, also go through this table of overlay items and go ahead and update all of those things too based on the player's direction so that we get the proper overlays. Because a tunic facing left shouldn't be on screen when he's facing down, So like we have to make sure to kind of update all of those overlays as the player walks through the world and stuff. So I guess let's take a look and we'll see at what point we trigger those animations and see if I can kind of think of a pattern that might be somewhat simple to go and potentially render up to 3 overlays of animation tables right over our player. So it is it's interesting. I've never thought about doing something like this. This is kind of interesting. So we have an entity class here, and this is, we should have a create animations. See, this is how we're making that table of the animations from the entity devs. So we'll need to duplicate that function somewhere, probably. But I want to see where we're changing our animation. So maybe... we do it a bunch of places. Okay. There's no one spot, right? Because we change it in, like right here, we're changing it in the map. We also change it in the player idle state and player walk state. So we go into the player walk state. Where are we? See how we're changing the animation here too. We're changing it here. Okay. I'm not sure where this stuff should live. Should it live inside the player class? Because if this is, like, maybe we can try to say, if this, let's go to our player walk state and we'll just try to manually render our other atlas we just made. So let's give our global textures the index of our character. Character fireElement. That is the key. Then we will give our quad, and we'll just do, for right now, we'll just give it like a, instead of, we'll have to put this character fireElement, and then it also needs like an index of which frame. We'll just put the first frame because we know the fireElement's visible on that frame. And we'll put it at, and we'll do the same thing where we put it at math.floor, self.player x, and math.floor, player y. Okay, so all we're doing is rendering from our global texture of the fire spell element. We're rendering just the first quad, and we're putting it directly on top of the player. So it's not animating, but it should stick with the player if we did this right in the walk state, and only rendering in the walk state, not in the idle, which it does look to be doing that. So it's in the wrong place, but anytime we're on frame 1, it's in the correct location. Anytime his hand is down, he's actually holding it correct. So what we need to do, I guess if this is the proof of concept for like, all we got to do is render the texture with the same frame. And we can actually put, since we define the frames the same way, we should be able to just put the same frame from our character in here, because we're getting the same index that we're trying to place in there. So if we put that function in there, it's looking like it works. Yeah. Wow, it even, what the heck? It even like looked like it fell when he fell when he fell, it looked like the ball fell too. That's nuts. How did that even look that good? How does it look that good? Okay, bad argument 2 to draw in player walk state 156. So right here, bad argument 1. Why would it fail here? Is it because the player's like doesn't even exist anymore? Bad argument 2. Quad expected got nil. Quad expected. Yo, why would that be nil? Why would this crash? Character fireElement, it's working fine. Quad expected got nil. So maybe we didn't have a current frame? Oh, I think we need... Oh, we're not... Oh, yeah, we are. We're closing this bracket. Okay. I don't see where we're messing up. Yeah, because instead of the animation texture, we're pulling it from our global quad, so it's like it shouldn't become nil because it's just here global in our dependencies. Right? Yeah, they're just global. Yeah, it's just global. fireElement Atlas, okay. I don't know why we're crashing when the guy's fallen. Does it... Are we allowed to walk? We can walk... It looks like we can walk wherever. But as soon as we die... Entity... Player walk state. Bad argument 2. Quad expected got nil. We're crashing here on the second argument, but this is this not fine? Because if we... What's weird is, like, we're using the same... We're using the, Shit. Maybe not. We're using the same function here to render our players quad and atlas, and that is fine. If we die rendering our player, it's totally fine and it doesn't crash. But when we try to render fireElement, it's crashing here for some reason. Let me just try to put in... Why does that work? And why does it still render... Why does it still render the ball? Why does putting in the anim texture... The anim is... Oh, the anim... Okay. Yeah, the anim texture is literally just... The player's current... Oh, see, no, that is wrong. But this is just the quad? Okay. This is kind of interesting. Let me see if the orb renders. Oh yeah, see how the orb wasn't rendering when I first booted into the game because we were in idle. So no orb and then orb. No, it's pretty... It works, and I actually really like how it kind of falls in the hole too, which is weird. I didn't think that would actually look okay. Let me see if I can put maybe one more essence of orb when he's walking like here. I kind of feel like I'd like to see it in his left hand up here. But this isn't so great in the sense that if we have to put... Oh, this is fireElement Atlas, yep. If we have to put... Since we have to be able to toggle these things on and off. So if we add it to the player class, then we can handle it in the player state to say... No matter what state you're in, go get all of your overlays and render any appropriate overlay that's toggled on and off, and then we'll just have to make sure our inventory system toggles on that thing from the player class. So see how he's not holding the orb and then he's holding it? there. We need to make it so that the idle is also rendering it. So let's add, you know, this would be added to our player idle state as well. But we need to add a conditional render in there for the option. Oh. What did we crash on here? Index field player, a nil value, and idle state 63. Player. Oh, it's not player. It's self. Those shouldn't be different from one another, but it doesn't really matter. Let's see. We should see the orb. Oh, self is a nil value. What is it? Self.entity. Okay. Self.entity. Shit. What is it? Oh, self.self. Yeah, self.entity. Just that. Self.entity.x. And self.entity.y. Okay, we've got an orb in idle. We can see the orb only 1 pixel worth when he's facing up. That's okay. I think I want the orb to be brighter. It's just a little too dark. But also, the fire spell is kind of dark anyway, isn't it? Yeah, maybe it can be the cyan color. Maybe it can be that cyan color instead, because it's just a little too dark. We should probably make sure it's the same exact cyan, so let's just open up our fire. And we'll just pull the cyan color out. And then we'll put... Oh, come on. I don't like that we can't carry over the palette. Can't carry this palette over? How do you do that? There we go. Okay, let's try this. Save as fireElement atlas.png. Oops. It looks too bright. It is readable though. See, I like how it falls. Like, why does it look like that when it falls? I don't get that. Okay, we'll keep it bright for now. So there's our... It's just that we want to only do this render if a certain option is true on the player. So I guess we could... I guess it can literally be as simple as like a fire spell equipped boolean. And that would be in our player class. So let's maybe try to add a fire spell equipped, and we'll just instantiate it to true. Actually, we'll instantiate it to false here first, but we'll go to both our player walk state and our idle state And make sure we only render this if our self.entity dot fire spell equipped is true. Because we're testing for two things. We want to check that it doesn't render if it is not equipped, which is what we just defaulted it to. And then we want to make sure it does render if it is equipped. So we'll test them one at a time. This will be the not equipped, and we'll go out to our walk state and give us this one too. And it's this one is if self.player.firespell equipped. Okay, so it shouldn't render the fire here, and it doesn't. But if we were to go into our player class and go to our fire spell equipped, we should be able to change this to true, and hopefully we see the little spell equipped. Oh, what happened there? Index field entity in the walk state. Entity, a nil value, so our walk state is screwed up. It's not self.player.fire spell equipped. Self.player, yeah. Our player gets our self.player, so self.player. Okay. Oh, that's what we did. Self.player fire spell equipped, but we crash. Entity is a nil value. Field entity is a nil value. Where is entity? Oh, it's over here. Okay. Player. Player. Okay. Sweet. So we can toggle on the spell equip. So we'll need to add where you can toggle over to your spells, and hitting A over here on any spell will insert it into your A slot, both as a render and as a Boolean switch on your player class. So anytime you switch a spell cast, it'll deactivate every spell cast and it'll only activate the one you just clicked on. Whew, I'm feeling not great, so I think I'm gonna call it there for tonight. But at least we've got this overlay kind of at least proof of concept working. And if it comes down to we just have to render just like this in our walk state, we just ask, hey, is our fire spell equipped? If so, render our fire spell overlay. Is our loot equipped? Render our loot overlay. Is our red shirt equipped? Render your red shirt, and then render your other stuff over it, or anything like that. So I think this method is doable. We'll try to add different color tunics maybe tomorrow, but also the spellcast equip tomorrow. So hopefully we can get. It would be nice if after tomorrow we could do you can select any spellcast item and the color will at least render in there, and then we have the ability to at least manually toggle in our player class, hey, ice spell equipped, so hold the dark blue orb or whatever, or light spell equipped, whatever we decide on. But this we can do add fire spell, or add fire element overlay for player class. Now let's do add fire element overlay for player class. That looks right. Hey, thank you for the raid, Big Boy Games. Hey, I appreciate it. Um, I am just ending stream, but I can show y'all what we did. Let me just get push here. I'm just ending stream. Hey, thank you for the raid. I always appreciate it, but I'm not feeling too well, so I'm cutting it a little early. We just got our element rendering for our character, so he's holding his little orb here in his hand now, and that shows that his fire spell element is equipped. So when he's holding the blue fire orb, he can cast the fire spell like this. And then we got this little inventory system for, like, you know, equip your berries or your baggie, or, and then this will be the right side here are the key items, so that tomorrow we're going to be working on, you know, whichever one you select here will equip in your A slot, and your A slot is what's going to be used to cast spells. Right now it's just spacebar, but we're going to switch it over to A slot, and only if you have a proper orb equipped, or, you know, a spell casting element in your A slot. So that's what we did today, is just add this concept of like an overlay on top of our character, so that when we come in here and we want to switch our tunics to get different buffs, that we can render. We don't have to have a whole other atlas for our player, but it'll render the base atlas, and then his tunic color, and then his spellcast element, and then his item. You know, crossover. I thought of a lot. I thought of a lot of things, and the answer is it can't be in your B slot because it's a lot to program to customize all of this stuff. So the true answer is it's simpler to make a UI that is all I have to do is click the thing and it replaces there. I was thinking about this and trying to think about if I should allow people to move it so that they can kind of customize the slots of their inventory, and I kind of got to the point where I'm like, it'll just be simple. If I can make it more complicated and complex if I want, if I feel like it's lacking in the future, but for right now, I'm just doing the simple one because I'm trying to ship this game, and I've never shipped a game before, so I think I need to cut some corners in some ways. So we're almost at the point where we can add another item like our loot, because we have this little loot mini game. It just doesn't work with the Game Boy overlay at the moment. So we have to kind of rehaul the string logic to work with our touch detection so that we can play on the phone. And this is also working at Tashio.dev as a web deployment. So if you guys want to try to play it right now, it's on the website here using WASD, spacebar for spellcasting, and then L for the loot to pull that up. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 for the frets on the loot. So the goal is to ship it on. Oh, nice crossover. Here, I'll shoot you a follow. I'll have to check it out if your itch is on that, and then yeah, that's cool. I know I love pirate software. I haven't been able to do game jams because I'm trying to focus on my game here, and I don't want to get distracted. So I've been kind of just sinking into that, but I do like game jams and I want to get back to them. I'm just kind of stuck doing my own thing here. Because I feel like if I leave it, I won't come back to it. So I want to make sure that I kind of just crack down and try to ship this thing in a 1.5 years time. Because my time span was 2 years, and we're like 6 months into development. So I'm hoping in 2 years time I can ship it and then continue on to new stuff. But hey, thank you for the raid, big boy. I appreciate the raid. I really do. I'm sorry I have to re-raid, but we'll raid out here. We like raiding Hypnotic Games because he's always working on game dev stuff. Hey, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm here most nights. I try to do every night at 7 p.m. and I post the whole devlog on my YouTube channel, Finding Focus. So if you're curious about the earlier state of the games, of this game, it's up on my YouTube channel. So I post all my devlogs over there. Thanks, Crossover. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's coming together. I really like how it's coming so far. We've got like a lot of good bones set up for the game to allow us to be able to do a lot of bigger and better things. Yeah, thanks for hanging, K-Tronics. Have a good night, dude. Yeah, we'll raid out here. Sorry, I'm not feeling better, guys. Yeah, I would normally stream a bit longer after a raid, but I'm a little low energy, so hope you guys all have a good night, and I appreciate the raid, Big Boy Games. Thank you. We'll raid out here to Hypnotic. Peace out.